Good afternoon, dear ones. My name is Sarah Brown. I'm with the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy. And like so many people here, I've known Doug a long time, I think over 26 years. He was with us from the very beginning of the national campaign. He served as the second chairman of our research advisory panel. Our first one was Chris Moore, who's here. He was on our board for many, many years. And he was a close advisor and a very close, trusted friend up into the very day that we lost him on a mountainside. I think that this collection of people here today just speaks volumes about how widely loved he was, how much he accomplished and meant so much to all of us. We're just thrilled, Gail and Catherine and Cameron, that you're all here, along with so many professional colleagues. When our children, our three girls, were quite young, we had a great little book entitled, "What Do You Say Now, Dear?" Does anybody know that book, or is it lost in the sea? Do you remember that one? As you can sort of guess, it outlined a series of kind of funny but generally awkward situations in which a child needed to say something, to respond, but sort of didn't know what to say. And the book often counseled that you would just say thank you, or as they actually said, a simple thank you will do. That was often the recommended answer. So I looked at it the other day thinking about today that maybe I would find out something about what to say now, dear. There was no help there, unfortunately. I came up empty-handed because, I mean, what do you say as an adult in the face of sudden loss of a life well lived but not lived long enough, of a man who was a shining example of all good things but is no longer with us? So they didn't say it in the book, but I think the answer as to what does one say is simply to tell the truth about Doug, or as we often called him in our office, the good Dr. Kirby. And from my perspective, let me offer a few of what I think the truths are. As has already been said and will be said again, Doug made enormous contributions to our field, but one particular one stands out to me. He developed a systematic, data-driven way to answer a simple question that many of us in this room are asked all the time. What works? What should we do? That is, what community or classroom intervention or even policy actually might help to reduce teen pregnancy, STDs, HIV. Now, it's hard to remember, and I think I'm right about this, but before Doug began his series of reports for the national campaign almost 2 decades ago on this question, there were very, very few good syntheses of research in this area. But undaunted and with no supply train behind him, Doug walked fearlessly into the tangled underbush of intervention evaluation and emerged with specific conclusions and crisp guidance. His 1998 report, No Easy Answers, led to Emerging Answers 2001, which led to Emerging Answers 2007, which led to frequent online updates and more. Of course, now there are many lists of what works, which is terrific, but it's important to remember that Doug was the pioneer list maker in our field, the first to take a clear-eyed look at available research, to articulate points of consensus, and to recommend reasonable next steps, which always included, needless to say, that more research is needed. Every single time I hear the phrase evidence-based programs in our field, I think of Doug. One clear marker, I think, of his unique and enduring professional achievements is that none of us at the national campaign, and I'm sure this holds true for every organization in this room, none of us can think of any person or even group who can fill the void, the analytic void left by his death. Doug was very smart and worked very hard. He burned white hot when engaged with the issues that interested him. Everything from standards of evidence to, as Bob noted, restoring that small valley near his very much loved home in Santa Cruz. He was also exceedingly warm and gentle. None of us, as these pictures show, will ever forget his smile or easy laugh and his eagerness to hug all of us, every single one. He had a remarkable way of engendering trust and making deep and authentic connections to a wide variety of people, again, including everyone here and many others who are not able to join us today. He wasn't afraid to tell the truth or to express unorthodox ideas or hunches that might not be fully in line with prevailing views. And he was always eager to ponder new perspectives that might change current beliefs. I believe this is called intellectual courage, and he had a lot of it. He was precise. Bob said meticulous. He was also stubborn. Right, yeah? I remember one time that we being either John Hutchins or Bill Albert, both here, we suggested shortening a very long sentence that he had drafted at the beginning of a very long paragraph of a report we were working on. He began the paragraph with the following: some, but not all, of the studies reviewed here show that. And in a determined effort to shorten and simplify matters, we suggested that the sentence simply begin with some of the studies, rather than some but not all of the studies, because some means not all. Well, I just cannot tell you what a struggle ensued. I mean, digging out Strong and White, we had to get out Fowler's Modern English Usage. It was an epic battle, and of course Doug won. Some, but not all, endures. And finally, I want to note his dedication to what we currently call work-life balance. As my husband often says, the hard part about adult life is not working hard. The hard part is balancing hard work with other important parts of life too. And Doug did this very well, as the place and circumstances of his untimely death clearly illustrate. I recall that my last conversation with Doug around the little table in my office was not about anything even remotely related to criteria for judging program effectiveness. Rather, it was entirely about Gail and Catherine and Cameron, the Doug Kirby swale, upcoming trips with family and friends, and the joys of life. The good Dr. Kirby was fully unique, much loved, and utterly irreplaceable. I feel blessed to have known him and miss him very much.